All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We're here at my house with Monique Latise. Monique, welcome to our home.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming through. This is the first time, we've done like a straight up podcast episode here. We did like a radio show downstairs. Duck's here. You know.
Hey, Duck.
Yeah. What's up, Duck?
Duck wants to play.
Yeah, Duck doesn't know what we're doing, but
Right. It's okay.
no. So this is great. So we met because randomly, almost like a year ago, I think, we also saw you randomly like a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Duck, beat it. Yeah. So we met at Sharky's just a couple weeks ago, like officially. Well, I guess I saw you play live too, but Chrissy randomly like a year ago,
We just met.
just like sitting at the bar together at Sharky's in Clifton, hit it off.
Yep.
And fast friends apparently. That must have been like a nice meeting of the minds, like kismet almost.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it was good. Sharky's is that kind of place.
it really is.
You know, the wings are good.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is good. The drinks are good.
The drinks are good.
You know, and
Yeah.
we're connected. Yeah.
Yeah, and it forces you, like the way that bar is set up, it's so like packed in.
Yes.
Like forces you to become friends with
You
people.
have to.
Yeah, no problem. And then we saw you at Barcode. Was that Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, New Jersey. Yep.
Yeah, maybe like a week or two after that.
After that, yep.
And hilarious.
Thank you.
I'm also glad that you went on early. That was like helpful for
Yeah,
us too.
yeah.
So I want to like learn a little bit more about you because I've like gone through the Instagrams. I've looked at a bunch of your stuff online and all that. You're a Jersey girl, right?
Jersey girl.
That's right. From where?
Paterson, New Jersey.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. And what were you doing? Like early Monique, what was she getting herself into?
Paterson, there was a lot of musical artists from Paterson when
Yeah.
I was growing up.
Okay.
So I was very heavily into hip hop. I was into like rap, dancing, and I thought I was going to be a rapper and dancer. So
Okay.
that was like you have a diva, you have a Young King. These are all artists that's from Paterson.
Yeah.
King's son, he had a rap out back in the day. So I thought I was going to be a rapper.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what I was in my room writing rhymes. You know.
Performing at all?
No, just in my head.
Yeah.
It was always in my head. I think this is why I love to perform now.
We're crushing it, right?
Right. Blooper.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm so happy about performing now because I feel like the childhood dreams are like coming true.
Yeah.
So, you know, because I sat in my room. I was always on punishment. Let me be clear with that.
Sure. Always in trouble.
Only because of my grades. I wasn't a good student. When I should have been studying, I was writing raps.
Sure. Well, it's like, when you find something that you really like to do.
Yeah, I didn't care
that
about
takes precedent over Revolutionary War or whatever.
But do you know how much I wish I could go back to history class?
Really?
After this election
Yeah.
and study,
Sure.
you know? I don't know anything about Democrats, Republican, and I wish I could go back to the history and study.
Yeah. And like, brush up on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sad about that.
Well, there's still time.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
But
It
at
is.
this
But
point,
got to tell you kids, pay attention in history class because one day you're going to have to vote and you need to know who the hell you're voting for
that's right.
and why.
Exactly. Okay, so rap, dancer, all that kind of stuff, like kind of getting into that like world coming out of Paterson.
Yeah.
And then at what point does like that start to turn a little bit into what you're doing now, like the comedy stuff?
Years later. Years later. So let me back up a little bit. Paterson was not the Paterson now.
Sure.
Paterson was a nice, cool, safe place where you can walk from one side of town to another with no problem. You know, we used to go to the Fabian Theater. It was a place where I was so proud to be from, right? And still proud to be from Paterson, New Jersey. You know, and then I got married, had kids, and my marriage didn't work out. You know, I was on my job for a long time, and I just felt incomplete, like something was missing.
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with me not fulfilling that childhood dream
Sure.
of being on stage because that's all I ever wanted to do is to be on stage. And I wasn't necessarily great at rapping or great at music. I just had a passion for it.
Yeah, like scratching that creative itch.
Right.
You know?
So one day I was in the barbershop and somebody, was saying that they had started comedy. And I was very interested.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, really? And I was just fascinated, like asking them questions. I never thought about being a comedian, didn't want anything to do with comedy. But for some reason, when this person told me that they were now into comedy, I was like so curious. So time went on, and that person ended up calling me and saying, hey, I'm doing a show.
Yeah.
And I want you on the show. And I was so confused.
You're like, what does that mean?
Why? I'm like, why?
And why? Yeah, exactly.
Because I had never mentioned that
Sure.
I was funny.
Yeah, right.
I never,
that was funny.
But the person, I guess they saw something, or maybe God dropped something
Sure.
in their spirit. But he called me and he's like, I want you to, be on my show. And I was like, nah, I don't want to be on stage making people laugh. That's not cool.
Right.
But it was something that kind of resonated in my spirit. And I was like thinking about it all night. And I woke up one morning and I was like, I'm going to give it a try. And I was so scared. I was so scared. I still get.
What's like the time they ask you to be on this show? You decide the next morning that you want to do. Like, when's the show?
So I got the call June 5th of 2010.
Okay.
The show was supposed to be July 30th.
Okay.
So I was psyching myself up.
Just under 2 months to
Yes.
like get it together, kind of thing.
And it was hard. So here's the story. I was saying to myself, like, Monique, you could do it. I was like coaching myself, like I was giving birth or something. I was like, you can do it.
Like slapping yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that show got canceled. And I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was so happy. I don't think I've ever been that happy in my life.
Yeah.
So it just kept in my brain. How do you, because I didn't know anyone in comedy.
Sure.
Well, I knew 1 or 2 people, but I didn't know someone enough to say, hey, I want to do it. Can you tag me in?
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, how do I start? Where do I go? This person was going to actually put me on the show, and that was going to be the start, right?
Yeah.
So now there's no start. So now I had to figure out how to start because it was just like on my brain. So my daughter found an open mic in Bloomfield called Pianos.
Okay.
And I went in one Wednesday. It was an open mic. I went in, signed my name on this long-ass list of other names. My name was at the bottom.
Yeah.
And there were 2 women at the bar, and I walked over to the women, and I said to them, I'm getting ready to try comedy for the first time in my life. And they were so excited. They were like, yes, oh my God. And, sort of like how I met,
Yeah.
And like, they just gravitated to me, and they were like, oh my God. They said, we were going to leave, but now we're going to stay.
Just for you.
Just for you.
Yeah.
So they bought me my very first Long Island iced tea.
Ooh.
And let me tell you something.
The skids for something special.
After that iced tea, I was ready.
Yeah.
And I got up there and I did comedy for the first time. And when I tell you, I was so shocked at how the audience reacted to me. I couldn't believe it. So I went home. I was crying on my way home because it scared me.
Sure.
Almost. And because I've always been told that I talk too much my whole life. At work, when I was a kid, you talk too much, you talk too much. And I always kind of felt out of place about it.
Sure.
So for me to be able to get on the microphone and do the thing that people said I do too much of blew my mind.
Yeah.
So on my way home, I'm crying. I'm like, I can't believe this. Now, keep in mind, I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
I was having a lot of trouble with my son at the time. And, I've been divorced. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I had 2 jobs at the time. I'm like, I couldn't believe that I did an open mic and I felt the way I felt. So long story short, I got home. I said to my oldest daughter, I need you to come back with me next week. And I need you to watch the crowd. And I need you to tell me, honestly, if you see what I feel.
Yeah.
And she came with me the next week, and I did it again. And she said to me, she says, Mom, I think this is it. And I cried. I cried for months after that. Cried because I wasn't thinking about that. That wasn't like part of the plan. That wasn't like something I wrote down and prayed about.
Manifested it,
no.
Right. Yeah.
So I was so shocked that this thing came out of nowhere, and like I went back a couple of times after that. I went back I think like 3 times after that. The last time, a guy said to me, "Don't come back anymore. You got it." And I was like, wow. I said, you sure?
Yeah.
He said, don't even come back to this open mic. You got it. Go to New York. So I said, oh my God. So I went over, I found an open mic in New York.
Yeah.
Went to, now this is crazy. I went to New York to the Broadway Comedy Club where they was having an open mic. I got there about 2 hours early because I'm anal about time.
Sure.
I walked in and this big security guy says, hey, what are you doing? What are you looking for? Big Italian guy. And I said, I'm here for the open mic. I'm a comedian. He said, it don't start till 6. You're way too early. Get out of here. And I'm a grown woman. Like, I didn't start comedy at 20.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm 38.
Yeah.
You know. And I'm like, who was he talking to? And I went outside and I was like going off about the fact that he was so rude. My daughter was with me and I'm like going off. We're going off. And I was like, he don't know who I am. I'm a comedian. So this guy comes out of the Broadway Comedy Club and he's smoking a cigarette. And he says, hey, how you doing? I said, I'm pissed off. I couldn't wait to tell somebody about this.
Yeah, right.
He said, what's the problem? And I said, the security kicked me out. I'm here for an open mic. I'm a comedian. He said, you're a comedian? I said, I'm a comedian. I laugh at this now because I didn't know what I was saying.
Sure, yeah.
He said, well, if you're a comedian, he said, I'm in there auditioning for a play. I'm going to get you an audition right now. Come on in. I looked at my daughter. I was like, oh, snap. So he walked us past the guy, the security guy. We walked in. He yelled, Beverly Bonner, which is a big comedian from New York. Beverly Bonner. He said, what's your name? I said, Monique Latise. He said, Beverly Bonner, I have a comedian, Monique Latise. She's here for an audition. And I wasn't.
Yeah, like audition for what?
So this mean big black lady was like, tell her to go over there and wait, and I'll call her in a couple of minutes. I'm like, and so in my mind, I'm like, everybody's so mean. Like, what's going on? Like,
what is this world? Yeah.
Right, the security screaming at me. So he says, so the guy says, don't tell her that you didn't have, tell her that you had the audition already.
Sure.
And good luck. Never saw this man again. He dashed out into the sunset. The lady calls me over. Monique Latise, come on, get over here. And I'm walking over, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a single mom. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm in New York at a comedy club. So she says, you're a comedian? I said, yeah. She says, give me your headshots. I was like, headshot? I looked at my daughter. My daughter was like, I don't know, headshot. I went in my bag. I'm digging in my bag. I pulled out an old baby picture that I had in my bag. It was a big 8 by, I think this is 8 by 10.
Sure. Yeah, like a regular sized piece of paper.
Remember back in the day, the old baby pictures?
Yeah.
I had that in my bag for some reason.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to have
So
in your
I
bag.
pulled it out my bag, gave it to her. She said, you're the funniest bitch alive. She said, you are fucking funny. And I'm just sitting, me and my daughter like, oh. She's like, you're hilarious. And she was like, here, read this script. And I was like, what the freak? So I read the script. So she kept looking at it. She said, you can't read for shit. She said, you stuttering? And I have a really bad stuttering problem.
Yeah.
She's like, she said, well, read this page. And I stuttering again. She says, I like you. She said, but you can't read for shit. She says, do me a favor. Come back next week. I'm going to try something with you.
Yeah.
So I go back home, come back, and she lets me do an improv skit, and I nailed it. So I end up working with her in her improv comedy for about a year.
Okay.
And that really was my intro to comedy.
Yeah. Can we also talk about, so we've had a couple comedians on the show. We've been doing the show now for we launched October 2021, so a little over 3 years. Couple other comedians, and I find stand-up comedy to me is one of I don't know if it's the hardest form of entertainment, but it is. It's so isolating. You're up there by yourself, and if you're not doing great, it is the loneliest feeling you could. I can't even wrap my head around something like that. But just kind of going from, and I feel like there's people that exist in the world that are funny but can't do stand-up comedy, and vice versa.
Yes.
People that are good stand-ups that maybe aren't that funny in real life. They just know how to craft a joke and make you laugh, kind of thing. Yeah. When you get asked to do this first, the first show, and then you start doing these open mics, Like, did you have like any kind of process? Was anybody like, hey, this is kind of how you should go through this? You're just going to tell stories, basically.
Yeah, so everyone gets into comedy for different reasons. Some people are great writers.
Yep.
Some people are great storytellers. They can just talk and tell you, make you laugh. Some people, they just have a natural ability. For me, I always loved people. I'm a people person. So when I got on stage, that was the string that I pulled on.
Yeah.
It was the fact that I love people. I've always, since I was a kid. And I'm a talker.
Sure.
So that was
the energy thing.
The energy, exactly. And I let that lead my comedy for years. It wasn't until, I would probably say I've been doing comedy 14 years. I would say probably about a good 8 years is when 8 years when I started writing comedy.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to develop the writing because there's, you got to set your jokes up, you got to put it in order.
Right.
And I didn't know how to do that. So I write jokes kind of backwards. I have my topics that I love to talk about because I'm a talker.
Sure.
So what are your main topics that you like talking about? I love talking about relationships. Love talking about dating, my kids, my family, any hot topics that are out, my personality, like things that, and I have a bad memory, so I have things that are against me.
Sure.
I stutter, can't remember shit. Like I shouldn't even be doing stand up.
Yeah.
But somehow, it works out for me. So I kind of go on stage and I'll try something, and I'll see I'm very in tune with the audience. That's another thing. I can walk into a room or a house and kind of feel the energy so well that I can read back some of the things that are happening in the room.
Yeah.
That's something I can't even explain.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I kind of let lead my comedy. Like every show is different. Every show is you don't know what to expect. So I'm always allowing myself to be ready for any surprise.
Sure.
But you're right, to your point. You get on stage, like I did the Showtime at the Apollo, got booed. Yeah, got booed.
God.
I got booed.
Yeah.
And it was not fun.
Is it like, so this is, I feel like the stuff that you were telling me in that story of like doing you're getting asked to do that first show, then doing the open mics, which are, God bless you, because that's like, there was a brewery where I used to live, they would do open mics every like Thursday night or every other Thursday night. And those would be the nights that I just like wouldn't go because like I went the first couple times and I was like, this is rough. Like, good for these people, but this is not for me. But I think that like it seems there was like a lot of like positives kind of coming out at least early on for you, right? And then like to have, like you just said, like to get booed on stage at the Apollo, like that's like jarring, and like does that,
my whole family was there.
Were they booing?
They were fighting the ones that were. They were pissed.
Yeah. Were they? So something like that happens, and like this is something that you're obviously taking to really well. Mm-hmm. A lot of successes, and you just mentioned like personal life and how this is kind of a good like juxtaposition at that point, like between the two things. But then like those types of moments, was there ever a moment where you're just like, okay, maybe like this isn't it, or was the positives? Yeah.
Never. The little girl in me is so happy that I'm doing this because even though I'm not doing the music and the rapping that I wanted to, I'm 51 now, but the little girl is like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. This is what I was preparing you for. You love to be on stage. You're a talker. This is what you were created for. So even when I bump into shows that are not easy, and the crowd is not so, I do a lot of birthday parties, and birthday parties is a different kind of comedy because they don't know 9 times out of 10, they don't know there's a comedian coming. So
they're not there to laugh.
Right. So they're, so then I have to take me 20 minutes to warm you up, and then by the time I get into my jokes, it's time to get off the stage. So there's a lot of stressing that goes with birthday parties. But I love people. Yeah. So I go in with that mindset. Like when I go in, I'm going in because I want to see you guys happy, have a good time. So whatever that looks like. And it's been working for me. And I've had my ups and downs. I had my shows where I'm like, I got a couple of shows that I would love to do over that I did in the beginning. Sometimes I feel like when you are new in comedy, you have different opportunities than a more experienced comedian. I feel. So there's a couple of shows that I did in the beginning of my comedy career that I would love to run the block again on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I did McDonald's Gospel Fest. I sucked. I was trash. But it was 18,000 people there. And I was trash.
Yeah.
But I was so happy to be on stage.
Sure.
I would love to go back.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
As an experienced
with all
comedian.
the reps that you have now at this point. Yeah, exactly.
But they don't do it like they used to. So it's definitely not the same.
Yeah.
The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes.
Looking to buy, sell, or rent in Monmouth or Ocean counties? Megan Carroll of RE/MAX Elite brings local expertise and personalized service. Megan will make your real estate process smooth and stress-free. Bringing Southern hospitality to the Jersey Shore, call Megan today at 732-508-7402 or visit her website at mcsellsbythesea.com.
So let's pick this story back up. So you do this, what you said, improv group for a year. You
yep.
worked there for a year. Mm-hmm. Like what comes after that? Like was improv something that you continued to do after that? Or was
No, I hated it.
Hated it. Really?
Only because that's not what I really wanted. I was there to do comedy.
Sure. Like,
and I kind of got drawn into the improv, and it was. I felt like I was kind of doing fake comedy.
Sure.
I wanted to do stand up, So I was like, well, why are we doing this? I'm not. So I remember the last day that I was there. I said to the lady, I sent her an email. I said, listen, I'm not coming back because I was coming from Jersey.
Sure.
And it was hard to find a park in New York. It was just a mess. So I sent the lady an email and I said, listen, I'm not going to be able to come back because I'm going to pursue more of my stand-up. So she says, well, wait a minute. Why don't I do a show and then you close the show with your stand-up? Now, mind you, I had never done a show, but she thought I was a comedian. I was just doing the open mics.
Yeah.
So she says, well, that's what I'll do. I'll plan the show. We'll do like the different improvs and then you'll close the show with your stand-up because you're a comedian.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the? So I'm like, that's not the point. That's not, no, because I need to practice more.
Sure.
But I said, okay, fine. And the day of, so she would email me back and forth and she would say, you got to invite your family. They got to come and support because everything in New York is really about bringers, like how many people you can bring.
Right.
And
how many tickets you could sell, all that.
right.
Yeah.
So I sent this mass text out to my family. Hey, I'm going to be performing at the Broadway Comedy Club. Now, mind you, everybody's still like, you're doing comedy?
Yeah.
So I invited my whole family to this show. The day of the show, I sent everyone a text and I said, listen, I'm a new comedian. If you guys don't want to come, you don't have to come. If you guys are, not going to laugh, you can stay home. I sabotaged. I pissed my family off because I was afraid.
Yeah.
And instead of me saying, guys, I'm afraid, I tried to convince them not to come because I didn't know what I was doing.
Sure.
And the lady thought I was a comedian.
Well, because you keep telling everybody.
I know. I know. Oh my gosh. And the day of, I got on stage and I said, well, how much time do I need to do? She said, just do like 10 minutes. And I said, I think I could talk for that. I got on stage and I talked for 5-10 minutes. And this lady walked up to me at the Broadway Comedy Club. She said, you're a star. And I said, I don't even know how this is happening.
Yeah.
This is happening. It's happening. And I think from that day on, I just grabbed it by the horn and just went for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love just kind of like the whole, well, first off, being early is always good. This all starts from there.
Yes.
But there's like right place, right time, right person, right time. Like just all those kind of things. And to me, like Christy and I talked about this a lot, like with my kind of trajectory of life and like when the universe kind of gives you like that sign or like whatever kind of signs they are, it's like, you just have to take it and see where it goes. It's crazy. And then like when you do listen for those and where it kind of takes you in life and what paths it leads you down and the people that you get to meet and all that kind of stuff, I think that's like the greatest thing that could ever exist in the world. You know what I mean?
It really is.
Yeah. So going off that, from you do this the 5-10 minutes at the end of this show. Obviously, stand-up comedy becomes more of a thing that you're doing. people along the way that were really important for you, kind of whether it's like professionally or just personally to kind of help propel you that way?
Right.
Can we talk about some of them?
Yes. Whenever you're following your dream, there's changes that happen. You got some people that believe in what you're doing. Some people are like, what are you doing? Some people, because I had a 9-to-5. I had a great 9-to-5. I was working at my job at that time. I was on my job about 15 years, and I was like Miss Credit Union. I was the bank lady at my job. And, I was very motivated at my job. I, always went above and beyond. So, and then I had a part-time job. So comedy kind of just took over, just took over my life, just consumed my life. And side note, my son was sent to prison during that time. And that made it very challenging for me.
Sure.
And I kind of went into this bubble and really just tuned everybody out, which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's the way I had to do it.
Sure.
I went into this bubble and just went after my comedy. And I met, different people along the way who introduced me to different platforms and kind of taught me things and, gave me, the first time I had my own comedy, we call them rooms where you have a weekly show, right? People always saw in me what I couldn't see.
Sure.
And I thank God for that because I couldn't always see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So God always sent someone to say, hey, why don't you do this comedy room monthly? And I'm like, nobody's going to come. Nobody's going to come. And then it ended up being, it's a 6-year run.
Yeah.
Over 100 and 200 people every month. The biggest show, one of the biggest shows in New Jersey. So, people have always kind of showed up at the right time. And then I lost some people along the way because people move on.
Sure.
Like people arrive with you for a little while and then they drift off. But you got to keep going. Like I had to keep going and moving forward and people would drop off and then you meet new people. And sometimes that dropping off was kind of painful.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's what you were asking.
Well, I think that's a big part of it. Yeah. 'Cause I do think that's something like when you're going through this transition, I think you told us at the bar the other day that comedy's full-time now. So like that 9-to-5, the part-time job, whatever, like comedy is all that now, which is incredible when you really start to think about like how that, like the trajectory of that and all that. But I do think that people along the way kind of being a part of your life are important.
Very.
And then if people fall off, like that is also part of life. But I do think while at times it's painful, sometimes it's just like a necessary thing to kind of continue to progress towards what you're looking for. Right?
Mm-hmm. It is. It is. And you have to, and that's how you also know whether you're doing the right thing. When you can keep just moving forward. Yeah. With you, despite what falls off. And I'm so glad that in the 14 years of me doing comedy, I never let any of the situations deter me. Sure. Even my son going to prison, I never lived by myself in my whole life. Now, for the first time, my daughters, were out of the house. And for the first time, I was alone. And it was a big deal for me because now, what do you talk about? So I had to recreate my jokes. And that's another thing with comedy. Comedy is for me, it's my story. And it always changes. Yeah. Like, I look over the 14 years of me doing comedy and I see my jokes during this season, my jokes during this season. Now I'm a grandmother. I have grandma jokes, My son is home from prison. Thank God I have experiences with, he's been gone a long time. So there's some adjustments that needed to be made with that. So, that's a whole nother set of jokes, dating and that's a whole nother set of jokes. I'm 51 now as opposed to 38 when I first started. Yeah. Dating is different at 51. Sure. No guys my age are attracted to me. It's always the young guys. So it's a whole new world. And I'm glad that I'm able to adapt as it grows. Yeah. And right now I'm in a weird season because there's things that I want for my comedy and I don't know quite how to get there. Yeah. And that's a little frustrating.
Sure. But I think, I don't know what they are, but I feel like it's just because you haven't gotten there yet. so you don't have like a lay of the land kind of thing. Like you didn't know anything about all the stuff, these stories that you're telling me.
No.
You didn't know shit.
I know.
So you didn't know.
That's the frustrating part, though,
Yeah.
is when you, okay, I've conquered this. I've had my own comedy club.
Right. We'll talk about that too. Well, let's talk about that after. Yeah.
So, I've accomplished some great things as a local comedian. As a New Jersey comedian, I've conquered some great things. It's like now I feel like I want to take my comedy to the next level. How do you do that?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't like to say I don't know. That bothers me. I like to know what's happening. So I'm really in a season where I really am trusting that God has everything worked out.
Yeah.
And I know he does because I've made it this far.
Sure.
And I'm doing something that I love to do. And I think God kind of confirms when you are in the right place. He sends signals to you to let you know this is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Right.
So I miss my job. I miss the people.
Yeah.
Because being an entrepreneur is a whole different beast, whole different monster.
Tell me about it.
You have the people to say good morning. You don't have nobody to gossip with. You don't have any, any office. Sometimes I wake up and I want to argue with somebody.
Yeah.
There's no one to argue with. It's a whole different ball game. You got your different personalities, and who is there to bicker with? No one.
Yeah.
So now you're really faced with just you and your gift.
Right.
That's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not trying to like speed through anything.
Mm-hmm.
Over the course of from like what we're talking about now, from like the end of the improv stuff to now,
Mm-hmm.
were there like moments in this trajectory of your career and life that are kind of like pinch me moments where you get to like work with somebody that you're like, whoa, I can't believe like I'm here, and like this really jump started the following or whatever the case may be?
Yes. It's no one that I don't think I felt that way working with certain people, because in comedy, you never know who you're working with.
Yeah.
So, that kind of, it comes with the territory. Like I can get a call now to come somewhere and open up for this person. So it's kind of like, it's something that happens. It's a feeling that I get with certain shows. Example, I just did a show in Baltimore. The crowd was, and it was at a comedy club. And I don't do a lot of comedy clubs, and that's one of my goals, is to travel the world to do comedy clubs. Because comedy clubs are different than just regular comedy shows.
Yeah.
It's a different feeling, it's a different element, it's a different energy. You got the green room, they're catering to you. Do you need something to eat, drink? The people are there, they taking pictures. It's star-studded. It's like being in Hollywood.
Yeah, a rock star.
Rock star, right? That's the word.
Yeah.
And so whenever I'm at a comedy club, it gives me that this is what I want. I want this.
Yeah.
And that's where I get the wow and the pinch me, and I want to stay there, and I'm like, God, keep me here, But comedy, you never know. 1 minute I'm at a comedy club, next thing you know, I'm in somebody's backyard.
Sure.
Doing a baby shower, doing a wedding, and I did a strip club one day. I did a swingers party. You just like you never know where you're gonna be.
Yeah.
But it's nothing like the comedy clubs. It's different, and that's the moment I'm like, yeah, this is it.
Yeah. Speaking of comedy clubs, you mentioned it before, and I said we're going to talk about it. You owned your own comedy club.
Owned my own comedy club.
So where was it, and why? Why did you start that? Because you wanted that feeling all the time kind of thing.
Well, at the time, I didn't know. I didn't really. I was trying to make some noise into comedy. I was trying to get some attention and to show that women are important in this business. A lot of times, people don't think women are funny.
Yeah. So
I wanted to show that we are bosses, we are funny, and I said and I didn't have access to a lot of comedy clubs. So I said, so I had a dream one day that I opened up my own comedy club, and I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? So I went looking for a place randomly, and I found a storefront in a mall in Paterson. It was an empty mall, and they had a store space available. Talked to the realtor. Next thing you know, it's Monique's Comedy Club. 6 weeks before the pandemic.
Oh my God.
February 1st, it was 600 people at my grand opening.
Wow.
It was epic. Now that moment was a pinch me moment.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So since the pandemic, obviously, like that derails a lot of things, and kind of, especially in the comedy world. Like,
I made money during the pandemic.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. I was doing podcasts. I was doing
Like
Zoom
shows.
video. Yes,
Yeah.
I made the most money. I came up with a character called Day Day. Day Day is a character that's on Snapchat, and I did like an animation of a kid who was pulled out of school. In an urban school, pulled out during a pandemic, and she was frustrated because her mother couldn't help her with her Zoom lessons.
Yeah.
And it was an animated cartoon character.
Did you do that?
I did it through. It was an app on Snapchat that I did the voice.
Sure,
I did the whole thing, and it got so big that I ended up doing book bags for this character.
I had no idea
Mask.
this was a thing. Day Day.
Day Day. If you look up, everybody loves Day Day. Day Day got so big that Day Day was doing private birthday messages for people.
Really?
Let me tell you something. I was getting that money. Yeah. I thought I was gonna be a writer for a cartoon sitcom. That's how big people were inboxing me like, yo, you need to take this to, but like television has changed so much.
Yeah.
And I think that like comedians like myself, that's our struggle right now. They don't have the sitcoms they used to have back in the day.
Sure.
And they don't have like the big platforms for comedians. So I'm trying to figure out how to take, because I'm a bona fide writer now.
Yeah.
And a creator now. Content creator. So I'm trying, and everything really is social media. TikTok, how many views.
Right.
So that's the struggle now, because Day Day should be on someone's television right now.
Yeah. And I do think that there's like the landscape of television itself has changed, but I do think that it does provide opportunities like that where you can like pave your own way. Be like, you know what, I'm gonna do it on my own. I'll make money doing this a different way, you know. And I think like you see that a lot with like comedians that put out a special on YouTube, and they're just like, we're gonna put a special on YouTube, and then next thing you know, like Netflix buys it or something like that.
Yeah, you gotta.
I think you have to like really just commit and like go for it, and like, you know, see what happens after that, and make it yourself. Build the table. Build it instead of putting your seat at the table. Just like build the table.
That's true.
You know.
Yeah.
We also talk about. I know we were going to talk about this at some point this episode, so we'll do it now. Kind of the difference between the New York scene, the New Jersey scene. You know, I know there's like performing arts theaters here in the state that do like Manhattan comedy nights or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like they bus in comedians, but obviously there's funny people here too. You know, so
yeah. Well, let me first say this: New Jersey is the capital of entertainment.
Yeah.
Music, comedy. Some great comedians come out of New Jersey. Bill Bellamy, some more. Ari Spears is from New Jersey.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And there's some other TK Kirkland. There's some other comedians that are from New Jersey, and it's just the difference I think between New York and New Jersey is New York there's comedy every hour.
Yeah.
Every hour.
You can't escape it.
You can't. And it's always like, if you live in New York, you can literally work and practice every hour in New York. New Jersey, for me, is more of organized shows. So it's like, all right, are you available for this show? Are you available? So I don't get a chance to practice as much as in New York, where I think a lot of times the comics in New York, there is like on a cycle, you know, whereas in New Jersey, there's shows. So the pace is a little slower.
Sure. Yeah.
So you have to be really, really a comedy on demand to really, really stay busy in New Jersey. Even though there's a lot of work here, it's not as much open mic spots as New York. New York is, you can go on every block in the Village and there's an open mic. Now, you may not be able to jump on the open mic because down in the Village, the Cellar, the Comedy Cellar, the different comedy clubs down there, it's almost like a club. And you can't just walk on their stages.
Right.
You got to kind of know someone and be, you know, you got to be brought in.
Yeah,
secret.
Know a guy. Yeah.
So that's a whole nother thing. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also interesting because we mentioned like building the table and like doing things and trying to like play more and all that, because you have a tour coming up that you basically put together, right? You told me all by yourself, which is amazing. So can we talk about that and like what that, like why? I mean, I think we kind of know the why at this point. But why put it together, and then like where you going? What's the plan? You know, all that kind of stuff.
So that's a great question. I've opened up for so many great people, and each time I think that these people are going to take me on a tour.
Those sons of bitches. But it's like, they can't bring you. They can't bring a funnier person on tour with them. You know what I mean?
I've opened up for some amazing people, and every time I'm like, please call me back.
Yeah.
And this year, I opened up for at least 5 different people, and none of them even called me back. And it was kind of discouraging.
Sure.
And I was like, at first, I'm like, wow, like, you know, and I said, because in reality, a lot of times, that's how you get to go on tour.
Yeah.
That's how the comedy clubs get to know who you are, because they've seen you with this major name.
Right.
So I don't have that way in. So I'm like, all right, Monique, the crowd is saying they want to see you. The crowd is saying they want to see you. What are you going to do about it? You're going to continue to wait to get a couple of 5 minutes on someone's show and then they don't invite you back?
Yeah.
Or are you going to go where people are looking for you? So I decided to find a couple of states and cities that I have a large fan base, reach out to some people that I've done shows before that own spaces. There's a comedy club in upstate New York that I'm always headlining called Rhino Comedy Club. I love this spot. I'm headlining there in December. I called the owner and I said, Maria, I'm doing a tour. Can I have a date? And she said, sure.
Yeah.
And here we are. It's called the Now or Never tour.
I love that.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm getting emotional about it because I kind of feel like it's now or never.
Sure.
If you wait for someone to say, come on, get on my podcast, you may, they may think whatever, for reason, they may not bring you on.
Right.
But I know now is the time for me.
Yeah.
I have over an hour worth of material. So I'm ready. So I got a tour. So my tourist places so far are Delaware, Philly, upstate New York. I'm still working on Vegas.
Okay.
So far,
sure.
That's it.
Yeah. That's amazing, though, because I think like that goes back to all the stuff that we were just talking about with like, doing it like the DIY stuff. Like we do a lot of stuff with bands, especially with the show, but with some of our events and our radio station and stuff, we work with a lot of bands, and it's like a very similar kind of thing. Like if they can get taken on tour by someone to go, play some shows wherever, but then, other people are like, let's just like make our own tour and just go and play and like build up our own fan base and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, that's incredible. And I think that it takes a lot of guts to do something like that. But I think it also is just kind of like, you're not going to do it if you don't have like supreme confidence in yourself. Like you can go and fill a room, like we were talking about before, like selling tickets.
Well, if I can fill a room, that's the part. That's the second part, because that's why I decided to do the tour the way I'm doing it. I'm going to places where they already know what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
So hopefully once they put my name up and we start doing promotion, they'll say, "Oh, I like her. She's funny. Let me go see her."
Yeah.
Because, my ultimate goal is to go places where no one knows me and introduce myself.
Sure.
And then they want to come back.
Exactly. And you have fans for life kind of thing.
Fans for life. But how do you get there? So somebody told me a long time ago, you got to start with people who support you.
Yeah.
And let them tell the world about you.
Right.
Get your group of people that have seen you, they know your work, they know what you do, and let them tell the world about you.
Yeah.
So this way you don't really have to, go out and I'm funny. I don't want to have to beg people, I don't want to have to convince you that I'm funny.
Right. Well, it's like the best referral. It's like instead of you, like you just said, instead of you telling me that you're funny, but like someone else tells me that you're funny.
Right.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
Let's check out.
Because I don't like to say that. I don't like to say, hey, you think you're funny? I love what I do. When people say, hey, I love what I do, You may say, well, how was the show the other day? I enjoyed being there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were laughing, but I enjoyed it.
I had a blast.
Now, if I say I didn't have a good time,
sure,
we know what it is.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love what I'm doing. I feel like I was created for this. And this is, sometimes I even say, God, if this is not for me, take it away.
Yeah, right.
If this man is not for me, take him away.
Just stop teasing me.
Right.
Just do it,
like,
you know? Yeah.
But he reminds me, you know, every chance he gets that, nah, girl, you are created for this moment.
Yeah. I love that. I love everything that we've talked about in this episode. So you also mentioned, as we're getting kind of closer to the end of the episode, but you also mentioned earlier, like places you want comedy to take you, you know, whether it's like an actual place or just kind of like a theoretical place. Obviously playing shows on this tour at places that you've been to, you know, the people, whatever. Are there places in wherever, it could be Jersey, it could be outside of Jersey, but places that you want to go play, like dream spots that you're just like, I need to be on this stage one day?
Yes.
What
I'm glad that you asked. So the only place in New Jersey that I've never performed is Bananas.
Okay.
So I would love to do Bananas. So if anyone out there has any access to Bananas Comedy Club, please. I would love to do Bananas. One of my other favorite spots that's very close to New Jersey, it's like on a borderline between New Jersey and New York, is called Levity Live Comedy Club. I've performed there before, but I want to be there for a whole weekend.
Okay.
I want to be there 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, and 1 Sunday. That's the goal. That's the goal.
I love that.
Yeah.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming through. And thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. If people are listening to this and they're like, we got to learn more about Monique, where would you send them to go do that?
It's Monique Latise on all platforms. Monique Latise on everything. Cash App, Christian Mingle. I'm joking. TikTok.
Farmersonly.com.
Yes. What's the other one? What's the one that people kind of, you don't see the person's face, but
like Love Is Blind, like the TV
no, like
show?
some people show hands. Like people show hands.
I don't know.
Or
that
your
one.
feet. Like people, you can have like a account where people just see your feet. It's a weird website.
I've been out of the game for a while now, so I don't know.
I can't think of it, but it's a place that you can go to get money.
Now I'm interested.
Yeah,
but I can't download that.
Yeah. Well, you could. No one would know it's you.
Sure, that's actually a good point. Yeah.
I can't think of the name. But anyway, Monique Latise.
You're on there. Yeah.
Yes. Well, no, I want to be on there. Monique Latise on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah. And people want to find tickets. The tour is starting February 2025.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Buying tickets, are they on sale now, or are they going to be on sale?
I'm in the process of getting them up and running. They will be ready shortly. So I would say just follow my social media, and then my social media will direct you to the ticket links.
Yeah. I love this. So we'll make sure we put all those in the show notes. People just go click them, go right to your pages. Is there anything that you want to leave people with before we close out the show? Anything that they need to know about Monique Latise that somehow we didn't cover, like your last point of the episode?
I would like people to know about me is that I love dogs.
Duck loves you.
I love dogs.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
That is
for
a
me.
big, well, it's a
I
big
love
deal
dogs.
for us. If she was like, want nothing to do with you, I'd be like, all right, listen, maybe this isn't going to work out. Thanks for coming out.
I love dogs, and I'm a human. I think a lot of times when people see me, like I shop at ShopRite a lot, and people come in, they're like, oh my God, there's a comedian. And I'm like, I'm just an everyday gal from New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to be doing what I love that you're going to always be able to approach me for a picture. You're going to always be able to approach me for just even if you need encouragement, because I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
So I just want to always be, available for people to reach out, and you can follow your dream. I just want to be that person.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that all the stuff that we talked about really kind of hammers that point home. Like that's what you've been doing for however long. Like I think 13 years, whatever it's been.
14, yeah.
14 years. Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Like I said to everybody, we'll put Monique's links and everything in the show notes. You just go click it, check it out. When the tickets go on sale, you'll be following the socials, so you'll know when they go on sale, so you can go see her perform. Because we talked about the Barcode show that we saw last year, which was incredible. We had a great time. Yeah, so we'll do that. Greetingsfromthegardensstate.com will also be in the show notes. So you just go click that, get all of our other episodes that we've done this year, which we've been crushing it with episodes this year. A lot of really cool guests, including yourself. So this is like just one after another, just crushing with episodes.
I love it.
Okay, this has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast powered by the New Jersey Lottery. We're here today at my house with Monique Latise. I'm Mike Ham. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.